We're going to have a look at the morning's business news. Stephen Carroll is here. Good morning, Stephen.
Hi, Melissa.
And we begin in the United Kingdom, where the Finance Minister has announced some post-Brexit plans for the economy. Tell us more.
George Osborne is planning to cut corporation tax in Britain to 15% in an effort to attract businesses to invest in the UK. In an interview with the Financial Times, the Finance Minister says Britain should get on with it in the wake of the Brexit vote and prove that it's still open for business. Now, a 15% tax rate down from the current 20% would put the UK's corporate tax below many of its neighbours and has the potential to anger governments in Paris and in Berlin. Osborne laid out a 5-point plan for the British economy, which includes a push for more Chinese investment as well as more support for bank lending. Now, the interview's a marked change in tone for the minister, who'd said that a Brexit would mean an emergency budget with £30 billion of tax hikes and spending cuts. George Osborne now says he'll have to wait until he's seen updated economic forecasts before announcing any new measures. He told the FT, "We're likely to hit our surplus, unlikely I should say, to hit our surplus targets, but doesn't mean we should abandon fiscal credibility." So we'll be watching to see what sort of plans he comes up with.
As indeed will the rest of Europe, no doubt. Tell us a little bit about how the markets have begun their week.
Pretty positive start to most of Asian markets today. Shanghai and Hong Kong leading the gains a short time ago. We saw some gains too, though, in Japan. Over in Australia, the S&P ASX 200 up by about 0.5%. The political uncertainty there not impacting too heavily on shares and trading. Investors more looking forward to some central bank stimulus in the wake of the Brexit vote.
Now, here in France, Stephen, startups have been trying to catch the eye of new business partners. Tell us about that.
This all during an event being called an innovation fair, taking place in the French capital over the weekend. It's a chance for new companies to show off their wares, but it's also an opportunity for some matchmaking with investors and even the biggest names in French industry. Claire Williams has more.
When she's reading a magazine, Lara Huir always has her smartphone at hand. She developed an app which allows users to take a photo of an item they like and then find it instantly on an e-commerce site.
I can share my wish list with friends and family. Like if I found a book I like, I can forward it to someone. So the magazine becomes something social. It's like a digital post-it with everything I've seen in magazines.
With beauty and fashion, Selectionist is trying to do what Shazam did for music. Every month, some 10,000 new items are referenced from the 30 magazines the startup is partnered with. Information on the reader's habits and tastes is sold to brands which appear in the magazines. To grow and make new partnerships, Lara is taking part in Viva Technology, which calls itself France's biggest trade show dedicated to innovation.
So we work with the top 30 French fashion magazines like Elle, Marie Claire, Vogue, Glamour and so on.
It's an opportunity for her to make contacts and find new investors.
This is a sector we're looking at right now, particularly as she's working on the software. We know this sector well and it's close to our investment target.
Lara has managed to convince the head of LVMH, a group that runs 70 fashion houses.
It allows us to be a lot closer to what's going on and avoid developing our own structures. It means we can keep moving and stay flexible.
The startups need investors, but the big-name brands also need the startups if they're to stay ahead of the game.
Some more of the day's business headlines for you now. Shareholders in the London Stock Exchange will have their say today on a planned merger with Germany's Deutsche Börse. The €24 billion deal was agreed earlier this year, but the Brexit vote had cast doubts on it. Germany's financial regulator, which doesn't have a veto on the deal, says the new company could not be headquartered in London. Both firms say the Brexit doesn't undermine the reasons, though, for the merger. Tesla's having more problems delivering its cars to customers. The company missed its target of building 17,000 vehicles in the last 3 months because of what it called an extreme production ramp as it tries to massively increase its factory output. It's now planning to deliver 50,000 cars in the second half of the year. And the boss of Volkswagen has rejected calls for its European customers affected by the emissions scandal to receive the same compensation as those in the United States. Chief Executive Matthias Müller told a German Sunday newspaper that it was a different situation in Europe. That's despite calls from the European Commission for an equivalent compensation scheme.
Thank you very much indeed. Stephen Carroll with that company's news. So just before you go, though, a quick look at a box office triumph for the sequel to Finding Nemo.
Finding Dory has had its third consecutive week at the top of the US box office with almost $42 million in ticket sales. Since its release, the film's grossed around 540 million globally. Dory beat its big budget rivals, the BFG and Tarzan. Now, the 4th of July weekend is a big one for the US film industry. The Pixar film looks set to take in more than $50 million by Monday evening. It's got quite a way to go to outpace its predecessor, though. Finding Nemo took in 936 million globally in 2003, so plenty of way to go for Dory yet.
Thanks very much indeed. There, a look at the latest box office success in the wake of Nemo. Thank you very much indeed, Stephen Carroll. Look at the business headlines.